Hello and welcome to Lost Love Mystery, where we explore the twists and turns of love, the pain of betrayal, and the mysteries that lie hidden in the heart. She stole my company. She erased my name. She thought she won, until I pulled the ultimate move. When Ryan Hayes is betrayed by his wife and business partner, Eva Sinclair, and kicked out of Cognisys, she thinks it's over. But she has no idea. He still owns the technology that powers the entire company. With one move, Ryan locks down the system, sending her billion-dollar empire into free fall. As investors panic, the board turns, and the media destroys her. Eva realizes too late. She messed with the wrong man. Revenge is best served cold. Want to know how he pulled it off? Stick around for the full story. You won't believe the twist. I still remember the moment like it played out in slow motion. I walked through the towering glass doors of Cognisys, my company, my empire, only to be greeted by a line of security guards waiting for me. Their blank stares were unreadable, but their rigid stance told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't welcome here anymore. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Some kind of miscommunication. Maybe one of the junior executives had overstepped their authority. Maybe Eva had forgotten to inform them that I, the co-founder, was coming in today. And then I saw her, standing at the head of the long conference table in the executive boardroom. Eva didn't flinch when our eyes met. No hesitation, no guilt, just cold calculation. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned. The security guards stepped forward, their presence thick with unspoken authority. "Mr. Hayes, you need to come with us." The words rang in my ears, but I barely registered them. My wife, the woman I built this company with, the woman I loved, stood there with her arms crossed. Her lips curled into something between amusement and indifference. The boardroom was silent. A sea of expensive suits and carefully practiced neutrality. Some executives averted their gaze, pretending to be engrossed in their laptops. Others sat still, watching me as if I were an insect under a microscope. Then Eva spoke, her voice slicing through the tension like a blade. "You're nothing without me." The silence in the room deepened. I blinked. What? She didn't waver. Didn't even blink. "You're nothing without me," she repeated, voice steady. "This company is mine. Always has been. And now, so is its future. You've become a liability, Ryan. It's time to move on." My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. My fingers twitched at my sides, every muscle in my body coiling. I wanted to shout, to remind her that Cognisys wouldn't even exist without me. But I didn't. I recognized that look in her eyes. It was the same one she had when closing a deal, when crushing competition. Except this time, I was the competition. I exhaled through my nose, steadying my pulse. "You really think you can erase me?" A slow smirk tugged at the corner of her lips. "I already have." The guards moved in closer. Their unspoken command was clear: leave or be forced out. My mind raced. I could argue, cause a scene, demand an explanation in front of the board. But that's exactly what she wanted, to see me beg, to lash out, to prove her point. Instead, I smiled. Not the kind of smile she expected. Not the defeated smile of a man who had just lost everything. No, it was the smile of a man holding a secret. Eva didn't know about the patent. She didn't know that I held the rights to Cognisys' most valuable asset, the AI system that powered its entire ecosystem. So, I turned on my heel, straightened my suit, and walked toward the exit. But before stepping out, I paused, glanced over my shoulder, and looked her straight in the eye. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." She let out a short, dismissive laugh. "Get him out of here." The guards flanked me as I made my way down the hall, their presence unnecessary. I wasn't going to fight. I wasn't going to plead. No, I was going to burn everything she built to the ground. As I stepped out into the morning sun, its warmth hit my face. A normal man would have felt defeated. But me? I felt something entirely different. Liberated. Eva thought she had won. She thought she had stripped me of everything. She had no idea. By the time she realized what I had done, it would already be too late. Betrayal doesn't hit you all at once. It seeps in, slow and creeping, like water slipping through the cracks. You don't realize how deep it's gone until one day, the foundation collapses, and you're left wondering how you didn't see it sooner. Looking back, I should have known. I should have seen how Eva operated, how she calculated every move long before she made it. But back then, I wasn't her enemy. I was her partner. Or at least, I thought I was. I remember the first time I met her. She wasn't the ruthless CEO the world knew today. She wasn't gracing the covers of business magazines, flashing that perfect, manufactured smile. No, back then, she was hungry. Desperate, even. Her startup, Cognisys, was failing. It had the branding, the funding, the flashy marketing, but none of the substance. Investors were losing faith. The product was a mess. She had connections, sure, but connections don't mean much when you have nothing worth selling. And that's where I came in. I was a software engineer. A nobody, really. Just another tech guy who had spent years pouring his soul into something no one else understood. An AI-driven system more advanced than anything on the market. A neural network that could optimize, adapt, and rebuild itself in real time. It was a passion project. Something I had built in my dimly lit apartment, coding through the nights while the rest of the world slept. I didn't care about fame. I didn't care about money. I just wanted to build something that worked. And Eva? She saw it. I was at a small tech summit, barely managing to scrape enough money together for a ticket. While others were pitching flashy, hollow ideas, I sat behind a cheap laptop, showing what my system could do. I remember the moment her eyes locked onto the screen. She didn't approach right away. She watched, waited, and when the crowd around me thinned, she finally walked up. Arms crossed, voice smooth and deliberate. You built this. It wasn't an empty question. She was assessing me, sizing me up. I nodded. I think we need to talk. That conversation lasted hours. She asked real questions, not just about the software, but about me. What I wanted, what my end goal was. And like a fool, I told her the truth. I don't care about recognition. I just want this to be used. She smiled. Not the polite kind. Not the thank you for your time kind. It was the kind of smile that sees opportunity. You have the brains, she said. I have the resources. Together, we could change everything. It was the perfect pitch. She told me about Cognisys, how it had the infrastructure but was missing the backbone. The technology that would make it truly revolutionary. We can build something unstoppable, she said. But I need you. I believed her. And for the first few years, it felt like we were equals. We worked insane hours, side by side, refining the software, pitching to investors, signing deals that turned Cognisys into something massive. Somewhere along the way, the professional partnership became something deeper. We got married before the company even hit its first billion. It felt natural. It felt right. It felt like we were sealing our commitment, not just to each other, but to the empire we were building. Cognisys wasn't just a company. It was our child, the thing we built together, the thing we were going to share forever. Or so I thought. The warning signs weren't obvious at first. Eva started doing press interviews alone. She brushed off my presence in meetings, letting investors believe I was just some behind-the-scenes engineer instead of her co-founder. And then, the language changed. It stopped being our company. It became her company. When I started Cognisys, I knew we were going to revolutionize the industry. The first time she said it in a board meeting, I actually laughed. We, Eva. We started it. She just smiled. You know what I mean. I brushed it off. It was just wording. What did it matter? We were a team. We were married. Why fight over something so small? But small things add up. Over time, they turn into something bigger. And then one day, you wake up and realize you don't recognize the person sleeping next to you. The first major deal she signed without me was when I should have seen it coming. A multi-million-dollar partnership with a government agency. I found out through a press release. The official company website had stopped listing me as a co-founder. My title had been reduced to lead developer. The board no longer consulted me before major decisions. Eva had quietly restructured everything, so I had no real power left. And then came the biggest mistake of my life. We should consolidate everything under one name, she had said, swirling wine in her glass as we sat in our penthouse. It makes us stronger, more stable. What do you mean? I asked, already feeling something cold settle in my stomach. Merging our shares. The board thinks it would be more efficient. Why would they think that? She waved a hand dismissively. Legal stuff. Nothing serious. We'll still share everything, Ryan. What's yours is mine. And what's mine is yours. I should have questioned it. I should have asked why she was suddenly so eager to put everything under her control. But I didn't. Because I trusted her. Because I was a fool. And so, I signed the documents. I signed away my stake in the company. My official ownership. My control. And that was the moment everything shifted. Eva smiled as she kissed me on the cheek. See? We're a team. This just makes things cleaner. I remember holding the pen a second too long before setting it down. Something in the back of my mind whispered that I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. And I had. Because from that moment on, I wasn't her partner. I was just an employee, a replaceable asset. And soon, she would make it very clear. Betrayal doesn't always come in one big, dramatic moment. Sometimes, it builds like a slow-moving storm, creeping in the background until it's too late to run for cover. By the time I realized what Eva had done, I was already drowning in it. She had taken everything, the credit, the control, the company. She had rewritten history, stripping my name from Cognisys' legacy, transforming me from co-founder to just another engineer. But what she didn't realize, what no one in that damn boardroom realized, was that I had seen it coming, and I had prepared for it. When I first built Cognisys, I wasn't thinking about power. I wasn't thinking about boardroom battles or executive takeovers. I was thinking about the technology, the thing I had spent years perfecting in my small apartment, surviving on caffeine and sheer obsession. It wasn't just software. It was a living system, an AI-driven network capable of self-adaptation. And because I knew how fragile the tech world was, how quickly companies could shift, partnerships could break, and alliances could turn into wars, I built something extra, something hidden, a kill switch, not a backdoor, not some dramatic, Hollywood-style shut-everything-down button. No, this was a patent, filed under my name, a legally ironclad document ensuring that no matter how big Cognisys became, no matter who tried to claim ownership, the core of its software, the brain, the beating heart, belonged to me. The patent covered every major algorithm that made Cognisys unique. Without it, the company had no product. Without it, every contract, every agreement Eva had with investors and clients was worthless. I had filed it in secrecy, long before Cognisys hit its first major funding round. Not out of paranoia, out of caution. I knew how this industry worked. I had seen too many inventors, too many engineers, robbed of their own creations. I wasn't about to let that happen to me. But even after all that planning, I had hoped, really hoped, I would never have to use it. That changed the day Eva ordered security to escort me out of my own company. I should have been furious. I should have fought. I should have shouted across that boardroom, reminded them all that I was the reason they even had a company to begin with. But I didn't, because I knew something they didn't. So when the security guards escorted me out, I didn't resist. I didn't beg. I didn't even look back. I walked out with the calm of a man who knew exactly what was coming next. As I stepped into the elevator, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification from my personal email. Patent confirmed. Renewal approved. I smiled. Eva had spent years erasing me from Cognisys' history. She had rewritten the story, cutting me out like I was just some disposable extra in her rise to power. She thought she had won. She thought I was gone. But what she didn't know was that I owned the one thing she couldn't steal from me. And now, I was going to use it. I didn't waste any time. That night, as I sat in my apartment with a glass of whiskey in one hand and my laptop in the other, I did what Eva never saw coming. I revoked Cognisys' rights to use my patented technology. It took 5 minutes. A simple legal submission. A few lines of text. A confirmation email. And just like that, Cognisys, the billion-dollar company my wife had stolen from me, no longer had a product. The next morning, the storm hit. The first call came from an old colleague, someone who had been loyal to me before Eva started restructuring everything to squeeze me out. Ryan, what the hell is going on? I took a sip of my coffee. Good morning to you too. Cognisys' AI is locked. We're getting notifications saying the company no longer has legal rights to the system. Clients are calling, saying they can't access their platforms. The whole thing is shutting down. What did you do? I smiled, reminding them who built it. Then the news started spreading. First, internally, engineers scrambling, IT teams frantically trying to restore access, thinking it was just some system glitch. Then, the board found out. Investors started demanding answers. And finally, Eva found out. At 6:07 a.m., my phone rang. Eva. I let it ring once. Twice. Then, finally, I answered. Ryan, she snapped. No greeting. No fake warmth. Just pure panic. Something's wrong with the system. We can't access anything. The board is losing their minds. I know you did something. Tell me what the hell is happening. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the rare sound of fear in her voice. Good morning, Eva. How's your day going? Don't play games with me. Her voice was sharp, but underneath it, I heard something else. Something she had never let me hear before. Desperation. The AI is rejecting every executive login, she continued. We can't run updates. We can't process external requests. If we don't fix this, we're going to lose millions. What did you do? I let a slow smile spread across my face. Nothing personal, sweetheart. Just business. She exhaled sharply. I could almost hear her grinding her teeth on the other end. Ryan, whatever you did, undo it. Now. I took a slow sip of my coffee. I don't think so. Silence. And then, softer, more dangerous. You think you can take the company back? I let out a short laugh. I don't need to take it back, Eva. I just needed to remind you who really owns it. The silence stretched longer this time, because now she understood. She had spent years building an empire on a stolen foundation, and I had just pulled the ground out from beneath her feet. I lowered my voice, letting my words sink in. Tell the board I said hello, Eva. And then, I hung up. By the time she landed in her office, the damage was done. The system was in lockdown. Clients were pulling contracts. Stockholders were dumping shares. And Eva, the woman who thought she had beaten me, was finally realizing the truth. She had spent years trying to erase my name from Cognisys' history. Now, I was going to erase Cognisys from existence. Brick by brick, line by line, until there was nothing left but ashes. I didn't go home that night. There was no point. The penthouse Eva and I had once shared felt more like a museum now. A carefully curated display of her success, where my presence had been reduced to an afterthought. No, I needed to be somewhere else. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I could think. So I drove to the one place that was still undeniably mine. A small, private office in a nondescript building downtown. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't luxurious. But it was functional. More importantly, it was where I had stored everything Eva thought she had taken from me. I powered up my laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating the darkroom. The hum of the cooling fans filled the silence as I typed in the login credentials for my personal development server. A server Eva didn't know existed. The moment I gained access, I exhaled. The patent files were still there, untouched, exactly where I had left them. Eva had spent years convincing herself that Cognisys belonged to her, that she was its architect, its mastermind, its sole ruler. But she had made a fatal mistake. She had forgotten who built it from the ground up. She had forgotten that the core of everything, the software, the security, the very lifeblood of her empire, was still mine. And now, she was about to find out exactly what that meant. The first strike, revoking the patent, was easy. It took less than 10 minutes. A simple legal submission, a few keystrokes, a final confirmation click. And with that, Cognisys' biggest asset, the AI system that powered its entire ecosystem, was no longer legally theirs to use. I leaned back in my chair, watching as the system updated in real time. For now, Cognisys would still run as normal. But in a few hours, when the system automatically refreshed, everything would change. And Eva had no idea. 6:07 a.m., the first wave of panic. The phone rang. I didn't need to check the caller ID. Eva. I let it ring once. Then, finally, I picked up. Her voice was frantic. Her usual icy composure was gone. Ryan, something's wrong with the system. We can't access anything. The board is losing their minds. I know you did something. Tell me how to fix it. I smiled. This was a new tone from her. Gone was the smug, untouchable CEO who had ordered me out of my own boardroom. This was a woman desperate for answers. Good morning, Eva, I said, leaning back in my chair. How's your day going? Cut the bullshit, Ryan. The AI is rejecting every executive login. We can't push updates. We can't access the back end. And the clients. She stopped herself, exhaling sharply. Fix it. I let the silence stretch between us long enough for her to start doubting herself. Then, finally, I said it. I revoked your rights. For a second, she didn't speak. I could practically hear her processing what I had just said. You what? You heard me. My voice was calm. You and Cognisys no longer have legal rights to use my technology. She let out a sharp breath, like she had just been punched in the stomach. You can't do that. I chuckled. Actually, I can. And I did. The silence stretched even longer this time. I knew exactly what was happening. She was scrolling through her files, refreshing her dashboards, desperately trying to find a way out of the reality that was sinking in. And then, it hit her. You son of a bitch. I smiled. Now, Eva. No need for name-calling. This is just business, right? Her breathing was sharp, uneven. You think you can take the company back? No, I said simply. I don't want it back. I just wanted to remind you who really owns it. Another long silence. And then, softer, more dangerous. If you don't undo this, you'll regret it. I laughed. Eva, you stole everything from me. My company, my work, my name. You erased me. And you thought I was just going to disappear? I let my voice drop lower. No, Eva, you're the one who's about to disappear. And then, I hung up. 7 a.m., the full collapse begins. By the time Eva made it into her office, the damage was already done. The system had locked them out completely. Client requests? Denied. Software updates? Frozen. The AI? Unresponsive. Every function that had made Cognisys a billion-dollar empire was now a corpse in a suit. The board of directors scrambled for answers, but there were none. And the investors? The moment they realized Cognisys had no legal claim to its own software, they bailed. Stock prices plummeted. Lawsuits started piling up. By noon, news outlets were already reporting the crisis. Tech giant Cognisys faces unprecedented shutdown amid patent dispute. CEO Eva Sinclair scrambles to recover as company's core technology is revoked. For years, Eva had painted herself as the visionary, the genius, the sole architect of Cognisys' success. Now, the world was finally seeing the truth. 10 a.m., the board's last attempt. My phone rang again. Not Eva this time. The board. They were panicked, desperate, trying to negotiate, trying to fix what had already been destroyed. Ryan, one of them started, his voice strained but forced into professional neutrality. We need to talk. I smirked. I bet you do. Listen, whatever personal grievances you have against Eva, I cut him off with a laugh. Personal grievances? You mean like getting thrown out of my own company? Having my work stolen? Being erased from history? Silence. Then, finally, what do you want? I leaned back in my chair, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then, calmly, I said, nothing. Another pause. Ryan, please. I just wanted you all to know what it feels like to lose everything. And with that, I ended the call. As the chaos unfolded, I sat back and watched. Eva had spent years rewriting the past. Now, she was watching her future disintegrate. And the best part? This was just the beginning. There's a specific kind of silence that follows a disaster. Not the silence of peace. Not the silence of waiting. But the silence of realization. The moment when people stop fighting, stop denying, and finally understand that they've lost. That's the silence I woke up to. The night before, I had gone to bed early, sleeping better than I had in months. I didn't check my phone. I didn't refresh the news. I didn't need to. Instead, I sat in my kitchen, made myself a slow, careful cup of coffee, and waited. And then, at exactly 6:07 a.m., my phone rang. I didn't answer immediately. I let it ring once, twice. Then, finally, I picked up. And there it was. Eva's voice. Frantic. Stripped of every ounce of confidence. Ryan. No arrogance. No fake pleasantries. Just defeat. I lost everything. There was no venom behind it. No blame. No attempt to twist the knife back into me. Just acceptance. I took a slow breath, leaning back in my chair. I know. Another pause. Then, softer. Was this always your plan? I let the words hang in the air before answering. No. I admitted it. Not at first. But then you gave me no choice. She exhaled sharply, like she had been holding her breath. I never thought you'd fight back, she murmured, almost to herself. I chuckled. That was your first mistake. A long silence stretched between us. Then, finally, she asked the question I knew had been weighing on her the most. What happens now? I let the words sit between us before answering. You disappear, Eva. I heard her breath hitch. They won't let me, she whispered. I smiled. They already have. Another pause. Then, barely above a whisper. And you? I glanced at my laptop screen, where the first draft of my next venture was already in motion. A new company. A new idea. One that would bury Cognisys in the ground for good. I smiled. I start over. Without you. And then, for the last time, I hung up on her. The aftermath. By noon, it was official. Eva Sinclair was no longer the CEO of Cognisys. The board had released their carefully worded statement, filled with corporate doublespeak. But the message was clear. Eva was finished. And without Cognisys, she was nothing. No more TV interviews. No more magazine covers. No more industry respect. She had spent years crafting her own mythology, convincing the world that she was the visionary. Now, she was just another disgraced CEO. And the best part? This wasn't just corporate failure. This wasn't just financial ruin. This was personal humiliation. Because Cognisys wasn't known for its products anymore. It was known for its betrayal. And now? Now, Eva was just a cautionary tale. A woman who tried to rewrite history and ended up erased herself. 1 year later, I never looked back. Not once. Cognisys didn't survive the scandal. The company collapsed under the weight of lawsuits, lost investors, and Eva's downfall. Within 6 months, it was sold for scraps. And me? I built something better. A new company. A new empire. One that carried my name. One that no one could take from me again. I never saw Eva after that last phone call. I didn't need to. I already knew what had happened to her. She disappeared from the industry. From the news. From everything. The world forgot her. Just like she had tried to erase me. But I made sure they would never forget me again. And that was the real victory.